Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Indy Investor Pod. I have Lauren Monroe with me here today. You may know her as Lauren Hicks, but she got married. What was it? Is this a year ago, 2 years ago now?
2 years ago.
2 years ago. So time is flying by. So she is Lauren Monroe, but you might just know her. You can call her Lauren Hicks Monroe. We'll go with that for today. So Lauren, how's it going?
Going great.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me. I just really appreciate Lauren, and I appreciate everything she just means to the Indy investor community. She's got a lot of stuff going on. She's a great source for properties, just an awesome person to know. But now she's also getting involved with some of the lobbying legality stuff with just, hey, what's going on with this moratorium and what do we need to know for our investor rights and stuff like that. We're going to dig into that a little bit more at the end of the show. But right now, Lauren, let's give us a little bit about your background of just like why real estate, why Indy, like why are you doing what you're doing?
So I grew up in Indy my whole life. So knowing real estate here is easier for me because I already know the market really well. But I got into real estate, just knew other people in real estate from when I was bartending, and a couple interns that interned with bigger investors came into my bar and told me about wholesaling. And when I first heard about it, I thought, that sounds illegal. I thought, is that real? I thought, I had my license. I had my real estate license at the time. So I thought, wow, that's something that I would really like to do. So I just started doing it. I just started my business. I had another bartender, John Babcock, that worked with me. And I just said, maybe we could do this together. And he said yes. So he went and bought a bunch of letter stuff the next day, bought a printer, and then we just started doing it.
So that's cool. Let's talk about that a little bit of just like kind of you and John's relationship and things like that. And one of the things I love about you guys are two, I feel like just both like just nonchalant people, just like laid back, like super cool and things like that. Like, wow, they have an amazing business. I love to see what they're doing and things. And if you know either one of them, like they're just good people. I love working with them, love doing business with them. Well, let's talk a little bit about like kind of your guys' relationships. You guys just bartended together, like said, hey, let's just jump in, let's do this together. And it's been a handful of years now, and you guys have built this successful business here. And now you guys are starting to do. I think a lot of people know you guys as wholesalers and deal sources and things like that. But you guys are starting to do some other stuff now, getting some buy and holds and doing some flips and things like that on your own, which is awesome and things. So let's talk a little bit about just kind of your guys' relationship of like number one of like, why are you okay doing this with like, just like some guy that you just worked with and, that's cool. And you guys have built this business, but then talk a little bit about how like your guys' relationship, how it has grown and how it's been built off of this business. And you feel that you guys are able to trust each other. Cause I feel like a lot of times when two friends get involved in a business, a lot of times I see it split. A lot of times I see some friction things come up when money's involved, it gets tricky, but how have you guys been able to make this work?
Right. Yeah. That I don't know many people that could do like just be best friends like we are and do real estate like this and work really well. But our personalities are, he is the visionary and I am the integrator. And so that is why we work so well together. He's like, grow, do all these things. I'm like, whoa, chill out. How are we going to do that? So, and we really work really well together. But we were best friends. I mean, previously, when we were bartenders, we hung out pretty much every day. We just have always been really close. So when I started it on my own. So I moved in with my grandma when I first started it, because obviously I didn't have any money. So I moved in with my grandma and I wanted to start it. I didn't want to work also at the same time, which I don't recommend to other people, but that's what I did. But she lived about an hour away. So I had to have somewhere to come in Indy. So John lived in Fountain Square at the time. So I would literally just come sit on his couch and work from there. And then I'd go to appointments and stuff.
Yeah.
So when he knew what I was doing. So there's a house right in Fountain Square, it's right off of Spruce and Prospect. And John wasn't working with me yet at all, but he saw the owner, the house was vacant. He saw the owner go over there, was filling in a hole, doing something over there. And John was just like, and this was 7 years ago. So it
Yeah.
was a little different in Fountain Square than it is right now.
Right.
But
That was when you could still get houses for like $10,000, $15,000.
yeah. So I think we got it for like
Yeah.
17,000. I'm sure that house would be, I mean, you could probably sell that for 400 now. It's in a great spot, and
Yeah.
it's giant. So, but it had been on fire a little bit at the time. So, uh, so it was a good deal. Anyway, I think we made like $3,000 on it, but that to us, then we were like,
Yeah.
this is amazing.
Yeah.
So, that's just kind of how we started doing it. And then we have, I don't know. We just work really well together. And yeah, it is weird. People always think that we're together. I'm like, no, I'm married and he has a girlfriend, and we just we just work really well together. So, but yeah, the visionary and integrator, I think, role is really important, and we both fill those roles really well.
Yeah. So let's talk about that a little bit. So what does that mean? What does that, when you have a visionary and you have an integrator, what does that for you guys? What does that mean to you guys? And like, how could somebody else make that work within a business of what they're doing and stuff?
Yes. Okay. So I'm walking over here because we have our chart up here of what that is.
Nice.
So John's visionary stuff, he does big relationships, creative problems. I'm sorry if you can't see me.
Nope, you're good.
Creative problem solving, culture, all of that. And then I do the leads, manage, hold everybody accountable, P&Ls, remove obstacles, special projects, and more logic.
Yeah.
So that's what we try to stay in those lanes.
Yeah. And I think it's so important that as people are growing businesses, this is what we really see of, a lot of times you're starting off with that one person of like, hey, I'm this one person and I'm creating I'm just doing some real estate investing. I've done a couple deals. Now all of a sudden I've done 10 deals and I have like people working with us and things like that. Of a lot of times that visionary person, that person that leads the business is not necessarily great at the behind the scenes stuff of that operation stuff, that holding people accountable stuff. So really knowing what your role is, what you're good at, and having two people within that. I know, Lauren, you guys are working with the same business coach that we're working with the Sharper team and Gary Harper and stuff. That's one of the biggest things that they put out there is like, who is the visionary and then who is the integrator? Who is the person that is leading that vision, coming up with the new ideas, but who's the person that can actually implement that stuff? And it's cool to see that you guys kind of have those rules defined of, John being the visionary, you being the integrator and stuff like that. And it's whatever works within your business too. Those aren't like necessarily job titles. It's just like kind of who's responsible for what on the accountability chart and stuff. So within our business, like right now, I'm still the visionary and the integrator. So I'm the visionary, I integrate the stuff, but then I hand it off to one of my directors underneath me, whether it's our sales director or operations director. And that's what works for us. I'm a little bit of a control freak, so I like to still do things and, and stuff like that. But it's awesome to see kind of how you guys have made this work for you guys. So let me ask you this, because I know you guys get along well and you guys are doing an awesome job. What happens, like, how do you guys manage some of those conflicts that pop up when John's like, hey, we should do this, or I want to do this. And you're like, no, we don't have the manpower for this. We don't have the hours for this. We don't have the money for this. How do you guys deal with some of that conflict that pops up?
We definitely do get in little tiffs for sure, but we're both really not grudge holders, so we might be mad for a second and then we can work through it pretty well. So we'll have a moment of no, I don't want to do that yet, which is like, it's always, I want to turn up the marketing. Okay, but we need to pay for it. Okay. Like it's just back and forth like that. But a lot of times we then just will marinate on it for the night and then come back, and then we can usually we usually just do what John wants to do.
So that's
I'm just,
sometimes he's a visionary. So it's like, hey, here's what we're going to do. Lauren, you figure out how to do it.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, okay, I guess we'll figure out how to do it. So it works out though. It works out. And I mean, we do pretty well. So
That's good. I think it's good advice too of what you kind of just threw in there, and it's not, something maybe small that you think, but it's actually a great piece of information. When you have like kind of some of those conflicts or some of those tiffs, as you put it, of like, hey, let's just sleep on it. Let's think about this and figure out
Yes.
what we want to do tomorrow versus like trying to make a decision right now. Some of those decisions are just like, I know within our meetings, if we have something that lasts more than 5 minutes on a conversation, this needs to be a bigger meeting. This needs to be a meeting on this
Yeah.
topic or whatever. And let's schedule this for tomorrow or the next day, because it needs to be something discussed a little bit bigger. So awesome stuff.
Yes.
So one of the things that, we mentioned that so you're working with this year, you guys have joined a mastermind group. You guys are working with a business coach. Let's talk about that a little bit of like, what has that done for you guys on just kind of opening up the possibilities, open up your mind to what all you guys could actually accomplish and do? What does that mean to you guys?
It basically, for me, is just an ironing out. So knowing our numbers, knowing our business really well, that and helping us be able to track everything, and then we can more calculated in a more calculated way go do different stuff.
Yeah.
So it has completely changed our business, and it is single-handedly the best thing we've done. We've spent a lot of money on different stupid little different things trying to learn more stuff, which of course I've taken away small things from all of those things, but this has definitely been hands down the best thing we've ever done for our business.
So, and you mentioned that you spent a lot of money, and some of this stuff costs a lot of money too. To join a mastermind group costs some money. To be able to work with a business coach, it costs some money. Like it's a deal.
Yeah.
Like you need to be able to do like one or two deals to cover it. And that's what happens and stuff. But like what I like to point out to people is like, can you afford not to do it? Do you want to get to that next level? Can you afford really not to do it? So for somebody that's kind of in that position of like, hey, maybe they just quit their day job and they're doing a couple of deals here and there, whether it's flipping, whether it's buy and hold, or whether it's wholesaling or whatever it is, but then they're getting ready to like, hey, do I want to actually turn this into a business? I don't know if I can hire an integrator. I don't know if I can hire a business coach. What's your advice for somebody that's kind of in that mode of like kind of making that decision on whether they should pay the money to make that hire for them or to hire that business coach for them? What's kind of your advice on that of like, is it worth the money, or should you do it? Or if somebody's on the fence of that, what's something that you just like, yep, go ahead and do it, pull the trigger on it? What's your advice on that?
Yeah, I definitely say pull the trigger on it, because it is going to make it so I can make so much more money,
Yep.
because it's like a lot of stuff it's like everything has been able to be on paper, and it's gotten my business so organized and been such a blessing for us to be able to move forward in this way, because otherwise it's like a jumbled mess. So it basically ironed out my business so that
Yep.
I could make so much more money and grow so much better than I would have been able to do before. So of anything, I would say this to anyone: do it.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. And, I was talking with one of our business coaches the other day, and they were just kind of talking about, and he said, one of the things that a lot of people go to him for, a lot of people talk with him about of like, oh, well, if you came into my business, I'm sure you could, 2X it or 5X it because you have all this experience and you have all this, you've done through this before. And that's true. But what he said is like, it's just a mindset. I know I can do it. Like right now, a lot of new business people, as they are hiring a business coach, they have so much doubt in their mind. They have so much just kind of holding them back, or they have limitations they're putting on themselves. But like, I think that's the biggest change of like working with business coaches or working in masterminds of like, you just it opens up the possibilities to what's going on. So I know I was
Yeah.
talking with you before this of like, hey, are you guys are you looking to go into any other markets? And you're like, not right now, but yeah, down the road, like we can and stuff. And I feel like 2 years ago, I feel like you and I would not have had that conversation or anything. So
Right.
it's
Definitely.
interesting. Yeah.
Yes.
So let's talk about a little bit of, as this is the Indy Investor Pod, let's talk a little bit about what you guys have been able to do through real estate in Indianapolis, and how Indianapolis has been able to make you guys successful and set you guys up to be like, hey, we're going to hire a business coach. We're going to join a mastermind because we know Indianapolis is a great market to grow the stuff that we want to do. So what is Indianapolis like meant to you and your investing, just, your investments right now, but then also in the future, what you can see it can do for you?
Yes. I feel Indianapolis is an awesome place for investing. Like I said, I grew up here, so I know the market pretty well. But there's so much potential you don't really need, personally, we don't really need to go to another market right now because there is so much opportunity here in Indianapolis. Um, there's different projects we could do. We're looking right now to do our first new build, which I'm so excited about.
Nice.
Looking
I
for
didn't
a
know
lot.
that. That's awesome. That's exciting.
Yes, I'm super excited about that. So, but I mean, like, just as that, there you could do a new build, you could do a flip here. There's, for as far as rentals go, it's awesome. We've done tons of like buy for 60 grand, put 20 in it, sell for 130, 140. I love those.
Yep.
There's tons of them in Indianapolis. And they're easy and quick. And so, yeah, I mean, to me, Indianapolis, there's tons of ways to grow here in just Indy. I don't necessarily need to go to another market.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a market of, as people are looking to grow. I think it's something you can do within India. Like, you can grow deep versus growing wide and doing some of those other things and stuff. So let's
Yeah.
talk about that transition that you guys have made then. Like, I think, like I said, I feel like a lot of people know you as wholesalers, and that's how I've seen you come up. But then also too, like, you guys are starting to do some of those quick flips, and now hearing that you guys are doing a new build and stuff like that. And that's pretty quick kind of growing thing over the last couple of years for you guys. We'll talk about that transition of, like, how do you go from wholesaling a couple houses a year or a couple houses a month to, like, hey, we're going to do a new build right now? Like, what has that mindset shift been for you? And, like, do you, how did you guys get to that point and realize that's what I want to do? Because we all know, is like, too, with, as entrepreneurs, like, shiny object syndrome, you're going to, like, kind of get, gravitate. So how do you know, number one, like, how did you get that mindset of, like, hey, I do want to take on a new build? And then how do you know you guys are going to be successful with it?
Right. Okay. So, we just started buying stuff last year for
Yeah.
ourselves. But that was just because of fear of thinking that no one would want to give me their money because I hadn't had any experience. But that's not true at all. You just have to ask people.
Yeah.
And so tons of people are just waiting to give you their money.
100%. That's funny. Like, you mentioned that, but like, it's so true of, like, like, the private money lenders are, like, they're out there, or hard money lenders. If you're just getting started, like, you can find money right now. Now is a great time to find money or cash. So
Yes, it's great. And but it's funny because it's just like the first conversation that I had with somebody about using their money then made it so that I could ask anyone.
Yep.
And I didn't, it was fine. It's so funny how I was so afraid to do that before. And now it's like, I don't even think about it. So
she just hit me up for some money before this podcast. No, I'm just kidding.
Brett actually just loaned us a deal recently. So we just completed that rehab and we're getting ready to accept an offer today on it. So
nice.
Yeah. So then, as far as the new build, we're gonna partner with somebody that does them all the time. So then
Nice.
We can learn the ropes and figure out how that all goes, and then hopefully do more after that. But basically, anytime that I want to do something new, I partner with somebody that does it all the time already, and then go from there.
Yeah. I think that's great advice of, partner with somebody that's doing what you want to be doing. That way you kind of see what's going on. You see, they're going to kind of talk to you like, hey, 2 years ago I made this mistake, but this is why. So this is why I do things this way. And I think it's one of those great ways to learn and stuff. What are some things that you do to build those connections of, you said, hey, if I want to do a quick flip, I'm going to partner with somebody first, or, with somebody that's done that before. What do you do to kind of find those connections and find those people to work with and people that you can trust to work with as well?
Right. Yeah. Well, that for us was just from wholesaling.
Yeah.
And I've formed really good relationships with certain people here in Indy. They're my best friends now. Yeah. So, they're always wanting a deal. And then I've done that with a lot of stuff. Like, a lot of people, we wholesale a little differently. I find somebody that likes a certain thing, and then I just go tell them, do you want this? And they usually say yes. So I don't blast a lot of my stuff out. I just have specific people that I sell certain stuff to.
Yeah, she is the master of the reverse wholesale. Does it amazingly. Finds the properties, connects them with them, and then be able to figure out that price that they need. So love that strategy that you're allowing to work for you. So that's great. But like you said, it allows you to also build connections as well and find those people that you want to work with because you have great relationships with them because you're sourcing them deals and stuff. So
right. Yeah, I definitely say anybody that starts wholesale or starts once again to real estate, wholesaling is just a good way to network and to figure out a market really well first before you take a bunch of risks, because obviously it's not very risky. So.
Yeah. So no, awesome. Let's talk about that before we get into, I do want to get into some of the stuff that you and Laura Guy have going on and what you guys are doing with the Property Rights Alliance. Before we get into that though, I want to talk a little bit about, cause you just mentioned it. I think it's understated. I know I've talked about it before on this podcast and stuff, but like the fact that you said like, hey, the people that I work with, the investor community, they're like your best friends now. Like, I think that's so cool about Indianapolis, because a lot of other markets are not like this. And you may know this even too from other masterminds you hear of, like, oh, we'll just go talk to somebody this, or you go like, and they're like, oh no, we can't do that in our market. Like, I hear that all the time, but Indianapolis is not like that. I feel like it is such a like a close knit and just go giver community that I feel like you can go to somebody and ask for advice or ask for help or partner on deals or whatever. So what does that mean for you guys to be able to kind of, how Indianapolis is that kind of community? You know, you just said like, hey, they're some of my best friends within this community. What does that mean for you?
Yes, absolutely. Indianapolis it's a cozy investor community. Most people, I feel, have the mindset of there's deals for everybody. It's not so cutthroat out here at all.
Yeah.
Very friendly. So yeah, I mean, it just, for us, the networking has been great. And yeah, I hang out with these people all the time. And, you know, it's just been really helpful as far as growing our business. Absolutely.
Yeah. So good stuff. So let's talk a little bit about, like I said, the Property Rights Alliance. So you are working with, so Laura Guy is the head of this committee, right? Is that true?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So
She's
Laura
the
Guy,
president.
yeah. So she's the president. She's awesome. We've had her on the podcast before. Probably need to have her back on, because she's just a wealth of knowledge. I so enjoy talking to her, and the energy and the passion that she has to be able to head stuff up like this. So, but Lauren has come on team with them to help them out and stuff. So just talk a little bit about what you guys have going on. What do you want to accomplish, and some of your goals for this group?
Sure. So yeah, again, it's a visionary and integrator situation. Laura's super visionary, and I just like am running around doing stuff to make it happen, so It's really good. Another really good relationship that I have made. We work really well together.
Awesome. So in general with that, if you need a number two for something, like Lauren is your person. Like, just if you want to take on something, she's awesome. No, sorry, go ahead.
Okay. And so, yeah, our project's called the Indiana Property Rights Alliance. We hired Evan McMahon. He's our lobbyist. And we'll have more info to come soon. You should have Laura talk to you about it here. Our website's almost done, but she is like super awesome at talking about it and giving a lot of information. But our number one goal right now is to eliminate moratoriums in Indianapolis. So that's what we're working towards. And it takes a lot of work. So that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah. And, talking about this, and hopefully it's up at the end of the month. We really don't know what's going to happen, if it's going to continue. Right. I know some states have already extended it through the end of August, and it's kind of, the federal courts have already kind of deemed it like, hey, kind of unconstitutional, and it's a little bit on the states right now. So what is Indiana going to do to this? That's what, Laura and Lauren and the team is, and, along with Evan, their lawyer, is really looking into, or the lobbyist, of really digging into this and what's going to happen and what's going on. Lauren, I know you've been working with some other investors and just hearing some stories and things of what's going on. Can you kind of share a little bit about, just off of some of the stories you've heard of what's going on over the last year since the moratorium has been in place, of like how this has affected the real estate investor community?
Right. So people just don't really realize, we like to say housing provider, but landlords are just given such a bad name. I think that people have it in their mind that it's more of like, big, huge companies that have all of these properties, when it's really not. 40% of housing providers are just like people in your community, they live in your neighborhood. So the issue is really that people are using using their retirement to buy properties, and then they're just getting screwed if they can't pay the mortgage, or there's maintenance. There's so many things that people don't take into account um, you know, with what the moratorium has done to different people, it's hurt a lot of people. Um, so yeah, I just talked to Sterling Davis. I just had him do a little video for me, but I'm needing more stories. So if anybody wants to give me a story of how the moratorium has affected them, we are needing to give them to our lobbyist so that he can present those so that it can make our case stronger for ending the moratoriums here in Indiana.
Yeah, that's a great point right there. Really, with one of the things that they're needing is not just support with what they're doing, but also just some stories. Like, let them know how that's affecting you. Sterling has an amazing story of basically like his mom finally, like after she's been saving up and doing all this stuff of like basically she decided to jump in and get a rental property for herself, just one. But that one she can't do anything with right now, and she's not, she's in the negative, and it's not cash flowing. And it's stories like that of like, the housing providers are not just this, it's not just always a company or not always this, hedge fund that's, renting out all these properties and stuff. A lot of times just little mom and pop places that have, or companies or businesses that maybe they have 4 or 5. And it's just like, hey, this is going to be our retirement down the road, 20 years from now or whatever, but it's affecting them right now. And we see this each and every day. I know, Lauren, you probably see it definitely on the wholesaling side as well. I know we do every day of just all these people that are reaching out to us that are at wit's end and need to get rid of their property because they've been so affected over this last year of their property's been trashed because they can't do any, they can't get into it anymore, or they haven't been able to collect rent for these last, 17 months or whatever it may be. It's definitely affecting the community and definitely affecting, I think, different neighborhoods and stuff too, based off of what's going on here. So if you guys anybody listen to this, if you guys have a story about how you've been affected by the moratorium, definitely send it over to Lauren. I'd be great for them to be able to, have it for support, be able to have it to, basically just plead their case a little bit on what's going on here. So Lauren, with that, what's the best way for them to reach out to you or send you a video or be able to get you any information?
So my email address, or you can get me on Facebook. That works too. But my email address is just my name, my maiden name, Lauren Hicks, LaurenHicks @gmail. So email me or friend me on Facebook.
There you go. Awesome stuff. Really appreciate what you guys are doing with the Property Rights Alliance here in Indianapolis and what you guys have set up and being able to work for us. Definitely, reach out to us at any time. I'll get Laura back on here too to talk about what's going on. It's important. We've talked about before of how this is such a close-knit investing community. We have to support each other and everything that's going on too. So even if you're a wholesaler, you're being affected by the buy and hold investors that are being affected by this moratorium. If you're a flipper, you're in the same case. And things like that. So we want to make sure that we take care and support everybody of what's going on. Lauren, before we get you out of here, any last little like tidbits or advice for anybody that is, they're into real estate investing or looking to scale their business and looking to kind of take it to that next level? What's some advice you have for them before we get you out of here today?
Yeah, for sure. I just, like I said about having the business coach come in, I definitely recommend doing that. It's completely changed our business, and we're able to get a clear vision on what we want to do with our business. So I definitely recommend that.
So awesome. I definitely recommend it too. And if you want to hire her team, there was working with them. Sharper is the Sharper Business Processes or Sharper Solutions, Sharper Processes. Some great group of people over there that are willing to help. So if you need anything from me, you can reach out to me at brian@simpleWholesaling.com. I'm more than happy to help you out in any way with what you're doing here with your investments in Indianapolis. And with that, that's a wrap for this episode of the Indy Investor Pod. And we will see you guys next time. Take care.